In this video, I'm gonna rank every single red dot sight weapon in Fortnite history from worst to best. And while every single weapon on this list is a red dot weapon, there is one that kind of stands out. It is the twin mag assault rifle. Now, obviously, the sight is not red, it is green, but you guys get the point, right? It is the exact same thing as any other red dot sight on this list, except the color's different, so it's still included on this list. I also want to note here at the beginning of this video that all Chapter 5 weapons are excluded from this video because, well, they all technically could have red dot sights on them, except for the mythic versions where the red dot could not be taken off. At that point, it is 100% always a red dot sight weapon, and it will be included on this list. If you go on to enjoy this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. We are on the way to 100,000 subscribers, and be sure to use code TYFRYZ in the Fortnite item shop when you make your next purchase. But with all that out of the way, let's get right into this. And oh boy, we are starting off with a hot take right away at my number 16 spot. In my opinion, the worst red dot sight weapon in Fortnite history. It is Dr. Doom's Monarch pistol. And look, I know I'm going to get ripped in the comment section for this one, but you guys are going to see this list is absolutely loaded. This was by far one of the hardest lists I have ever had to make. I mean, almost every single weapon on this list is absolutely stacked, is nasty, and Dr. Doom's Monarch pistol is a really good weapon, and so for it to come in last place says a ton about the future weapons on this list. Again, like, this is a really good weapon, and in the right hands can be absolutely deadly. I just feel like, unfortunately, it was in the wrong season. I mean, think about how good this weapon would have been, right? This is a slower firing, at least when you aim down sights. It gets a little bit quicker when you hip fire, but anyways, this is a slower firing pistol that requires you to obviously be very accurate in a season that was literally mosquito fly swatter simulator. Everyone's flying, jolting all over the place with jetpacks, and it really made this weapon difficult to use. In the right hands, though, I think this is up there with like the Mammoth pistol and Deagle for some of the best pistols of all time. It's just, unfortunately, it's got to compete against some of the most loaded assault rifles of all time. At my number 15 spot is the MK Alpha assault rifle from Chapter 4 Season 3, and I'll be honest with you guys, I really have no idea what the objective of this weapon is. Like I really just don't know why it exists. It is literally just a reskin version of the regular MK assault rifle, and obviously they nerfed the MK so much, and so it's just like, why even bring this weapon out? It's literally just a worse version of the MK. Just keep nerfing the MK if you're gonna do that. Again, like, it just doesn't make sense to me. In every single way, it is worse than the original MK7. It's got a lot more recoil, a slow fire rate. At longer range, this weapon really struggles. And yeah, I mean, all around, I think this weapon's just a little bit of a head scratcher for me. At number 14 is Midas's drum gun, but specifically the Chapter 5 version. Of course, that is the version that had the red dot sight. All the other versions did not. You know, I think just the underlying problem with almost all the drum guns, especially post nerf for all of them, is just that horizontal recoil is brutal. And as you guys know, horizontal recoil is very difficult to maintain. Vertical recoil you can absolutely control, right? You just pull that right stick down if you're playing on controller, but horizontal you almost can't control it, and that's a problem. And obviously, like with the regular drum gun, I feel like you don't feel it that much, but with a scope you feel it even more. And you guys can see in the gameplay, when you shoot this thing, it just shakes right to left. It just makes it very hard to use. It's got its uses, right? It's decent sometimes, but was there really a need to just chuck a red dot sight on a drum gun? I don't really think so. Anyways, at my number 13 spot on this list today, guys, is the Chapter 4 tactical assault rifle. And honestly, what a forgotten about weapon, and what an amazing weapon. I still believe to this day it is the best version of the tactical assault rifle we've ever seen. It is just such a satisfying weapon to use. I can't explain how good it felt in your hands unless you used it, and especially in a season like Chapter 4 Season 1 where people were bouncing all over the place with a shockwave hammer. You needed an accurate weapon. The SCAR that season wasn't going to cut it, and so in my opinion, it was really between the Red Eye assault rifle and this version of the TAC AR. Now, what I will say is, yes, the Red Eye assault rifle is considerably better, but there are those times when I would rather take this TAC AR over any of the other assault rifles in Chapter 4 Season 1, and a lot of people didn't even know this was in the game because you could only get it through an augment. Look, all I'm going to say is I better see some Chapter 4 Season 1 TAC AR love in the comment section below, because this is actually one of my favorite weapons of all time, but the damage just isn't there at those longer ranges. At number 12 is Mysterio's Sovereign Shotgun, and this will not be the only shotgun on this list, and I don't really know what the point of putting a red dot on a shotgun is. I mean, I know some people like it, but for me, I just don't see a point in it. I mean, is it really necessary to have an optic on a shotgun? You know, I don't really know. And I should actually mention, I totally forgot to put this weapon in my every single suppressed weapon list. Thank you guys for letting me know in the comment section. I completely forgot this weapon had a suppressor on it. I guess because, you know, why would anyone ever put a suppressor on a shotgun? But of course, thank you guys for letting letting me know that. You know, to me, Mysterio Sovereign Shotgun feels like a better version of the lever action shotgun and a worse version of the tac shotgun. Really, that's how I feel about it. I don't really have any other way to put it. I understand why people do like this weapon, but, you know, personally, not for me, and that's why it falls kind of towards the bottom of this list. At number 11 is the Veiled Precision SMG from Chapter 6, Season 1. Just an overall, like, in my opinion, better version of the Chapter 4 Tactical Assault Rifle, much more accurate. You literally have 0 recoil. Very low damage, of course, but that is to, you know, make this weapon balanced. You can't have a weapon that is extremely accurate and is also doing a ton of damage. I think the real downfall to the Veiled Precision sub is really just the amount of bullets you get in this thing. I think, what, is it 25 now? It's just not enough, especially in zero build when most players are running around with 250 health. It's just, sometimes it feels like you're shooting marshmallows almost. It's honestly just a really weird weapon because it's one of those SMGs that I would actually not prefer to use at close range and would rather use at mid range, and that really separates it from a lot of other weapons in its class. But unfortunately, it's just not good enough to make it inside the top 10 for red dot sight weapons. Moving on to number 10, I've got the Striker Burst Rifle. Of course, this will include its mythics, and this is the Chapter 3 Striker Burst Rifle. Of course, the Striker Assault Rifle is a different weapon, and of course, that will also be on this list. And for how many videos I make on ranking weapons, this is a weapon that I feel like almost never comes up. I almost never get a chance to talk about it, and to be honest with you, I don't really mind that. I never was a big fan of this weapon. It just feels really clunky to me, right? Like, it's got that super bouncy recoil. You shoot it, and those two shots just, like, fly backwards at you. It's got a super slow time between bursts, but it does hit pretty hard, and this was like the weapon that was the king of zero build through those early seasons of Chapter 3. I remember, I think it was the mythic version in Chapter 3 Season 2 that was an absolute bully. I mean, that weapon was so good. Look, it is a really solid burst weapon, but it is not the best burst we will see on this list. At number 9 is Ares Warforged AR, and you want to talk about forgotten about weapons? I mean, look, I know it was only a couple seasons ago, but I totally forgot that this weapon existed. I feel like Brawler's Battleground just in general kind of goes forgotten about because Ares Medallion was really just kind of useless, and so people just didn't really land at this location. But look, Ares Warforged AR was absolutely kitted out. I definitely remember you having the extended mag. You get 45 bullets in this thing. I remember you would shoot it and have like almost a red laser, it would look like, that would shoot out the front. Like a super cool weapon. It's just the Warforged AR is not one of my favorite assault rifles. In my opinion, it's one of my least favorite, and it's just because of that recoil. It feels so inconsistent sometimes. Now, in my opinion, what I will say about this weapon is it gets considerably better with the red dot sight. Like, the regular Warforged AR, I feel like is not very good, way too inaccurate, crazy bloom, but as soon as you chuck a red dot sight on it, it feels much, much better. And at those longer ranges, this thing actually becomes pretty viable. Overall, you know, not great, but also not terrible. Anyways, moving on to number 8, that is going to be the Heisted Explosive Assault Rifle. And if I remember correctly, I believe this is the only exotic weapon on this list, and it's another weapon that I really don't get the chance to talk about very often. And that's because really, in the grand scheme of Fortnite weapons, it's a pretty irrelevant weapon. It has not been in public Fortnite matches since Chapter 4 Season 1. It was unvaulted in Reload in Chapter 5 Season 3, I want to say. And I made a mistake, actually. It was last seen in Chapter 4 Season 3. It was introduced in Chapter 4 Season 1, so excuse me on that one. It is like a really weird weapon. It is an explosive weapon, but it's not a launcher, obviously. It is your regular red-eye assault rifle, but it does 60 damage a shot. It shoots kind of a slower explosive bullet. Your fire rate is way slower than your regular red-eye, but you're obviously getting that good damage, that splash damage as well. But it's an exotic weapon, so, you know, you're not going to find it that often. It's also really loud. If you guys have ever heard this thing in Reload especially, you can hear it from across the map. With all that being said, though, like, I do think there is a time and a place for this weapon, but in my opinion, it is a worse version of the regular red-eye assault rifle. It's just that bullet travel time for some reason feels so incredibly slow, and that fire rate, I mean, if you miss that first shot, you are in big trouble. And speaking of the devil, at that number 7 spot is going to be the red-eye assault rifle, of course, introduced in Chapter 4. Again, like, you want to talk about another zero build demon weapon. Every single good zero build player was running around with the red-eye. It's just incredibly accurate, incredible range. It might be one of the best long-range weapons in Fortnite history. It really doesn't have a ton of recoil, but it's got that slow fire rate. So at those closer ranges, don't even bother using this weapon. It is almost obsolete. You know, I had mentioned earlier about the shockwave hammer and how important, especially in Chapter 4 Season 1, it was to be accurate, because players were always running from gunfights. It felt like people were always dashing around in the air like crazy, and this was the go-to counter to that. Look, like, the red-eye assault rifle is nowhere near the best red dot sight weapon, weapon on this list. But you know what? I wouldn't mind if the red eye assault rifle came back, but unfortunately at this point, it doesn't look like it will. At number 6 is going to be Oscar's Frenzy Auto Shotgun. Again, like no one really uses the red dot sight on a shotgun. Most people are just hip firing anyways. But you know, I guess that's besides the point. It does have the permanent red dot sight on the weapon, and so yeah, it's got to have its spot on this list. Just an absolute bully of a shotgun. I mean, especially before it got nerfed, this was in contention for the best shotgun of all time. The hammer pump didn't really even stand a chance. It wasn't even close. And you know, they've nerfed it over time and it has gotten, you know, a little bit worse. But in terms of like fully auto shotguns, this weapon is still up there as one of the best. You know, just with 12 shots before reloading, it's just like, it's just shell after shell after shell, and you can really put in some serious damage and pressure, especially against those players in close ranges. Anything past those like uber close ranges, basically any of those ranges where you're going to want to use the red dot sight, yeah, well, you're not going to want to use this shotgun. It's not going to be good. Moving on to number 5, I've got the Machinist Combat Assault Rifle, and I'm pretty sure this is the third time in like 4 days I'm talking about this weapon, so I will keep it extremely brief. Obviously, the Combat Assault Rifle is a very high recoil weapon, and it's obviously got a lot of bloom, and so I think that this is a weapon in particular that really benefits from the red dot. It's absolutely loaded on beefy attachments. You've got a drum mag, you've got a vertical foregrip, a suppressor, so obviously all stuff that helps to control that recoil, and you've got a DPS of 220 plus. That is going to get the job in most instances, and yeah, this is definitely a weapon that really benefits from that red dot. Moving on to number 4, guys, we are getting into some seriously elite weapons here. That's going to be Emma Frost Striker AR. Now, this is the Chapter 5 Season 4 version of the Striker Burst. You know, different weapon model, but at their core, same weapons, or very similar at that, and I'll be the first to say, I was extremely surprised by how good this weapon is. Now, maybe is that because most of the time when you're using this burst, it's also paired with one of the most OP medallions of all time. Of course, you guys know that's the one that almost gave you like the infinite reveal ability. Yeah, like obviously that makes it a lot stronger, but still, I mean, this weapon, especially compared to the Striker Burst, is just so much better. It is in a league of its own. I mean, 177 DPS for this weapon as compared to the Striker Burst, which is in the 120s. I mean, yeah, obviously blows it out of the water. You get 37 damage here, low recoil. I mean, it's just, there's really no complaints about this weapon. In my opinion, this is like as close as you can get to making like literally a perfect burst weapon. If they made this weapon any better, I mean, it would really be teetering the line of overpowered, and I think there is definitely an argument that you could put it inside the top 3 on this list. But it just misses out on the top 3 because these next 3 weapons are absolutely stacked. Some of the best weapons in Fortnite history, and at that number 3 spot is going to be Nisha's Striker AR. Now, I'm going to try and keep this as brief as possible because in my every suppressor video, because in my ranking every single suppressed weapon video, I go a little bit more in depth on this weapon. But all you need to know is there is contention for this to be the best Fortnite weapon of all time. Okay, look, that might be a little bit of an exaggeration, and the only thing truly that really holds this weapon back is that it is a projectile weapon. I know you've got the attachments to try and balance it out, but guys, those projectile weapons just don't compare to the hit scan weapons. They really don't. Obviously, you know, the Striker's got a ton of recoil, and again, those weapons that have a lot of recoil typically do benefit from the scope because you don't feel the bloom as much. 29 damage a shot, a DPS of 235 with attachments like a speed mag, angled foregrip, and a suppressor. You know, could it use better attachments? I think so, probably. But still, like let's not forget, in my opinion, this is the best mythic from Chapter 5 Season 1. Moving on to number 2, it is going to be the Twin Mag Assault Rifle. And could this be at the number 1 spot? Absolutely. Number 1 and number 2 are just so close. You guys know when I rank assault rifles and these 2 weapons are in there together, I always switch them between 1 and 2. It's because my thoughts just are always changing about these weapons. Look, like I genuinely don't see a reason why you could hate the Twin Mag Assault Rifle. Like, there is nothing to dislike about this weapon. It has everything you could possibly want. You have a beautiful, crisp, clear scope. It is useful at literally every range because it does have a decent fire rate but low recoil. In the legendary version, you are doing 37 damage. That is past scar damage. And in a season, again, similar to the Shockwave Hammer in Chapter 4 Season 1, right? In Chapter 4 Season 4, you had the Rocket Ram. Players are flying all over the place constantly. You need an accurate weapon to pick them out of the air, and this is the perfect, literally on paper, beautiful weapon to do that. Oh yeah, and it's also a twin mag weapon, so every other reload, you basically just reload instantly. It is so good. I really don't have any complaints, but, you know, if you were really to kind of, you know, tug my finger to get one for you, it is going to be the magazine size 20. You're going to be reloading all the time, but obviously, you know, that's just combated by the twin mag effect because every other reload is so fast. So you guys can see I have no complaints about this weapon. So you might be thinking, you know, what is going to beat it out? Well, at that number 1 spot, guys, it is beat out by the MK7 assault rifle. This was the first ever red dot assault rifle in Fortnite history. I remember when Chapter 3 launched, you should have seen the face on myself and the other players who were big first-person shooter guys. I was so ecstatic when I saw that we had a red dot weapon in Fortnite, and rightly so, because this weapon was absolutely busted on launch. Now, obviously, yes, it has been nerfed time and time and time again, but I am still on the stand that the Foundation's mythic MK7 assault rifle is a top 5 weapon in Fortnite history. It has to be, and in its prime, before it got nerfed, there is an argument that it is the best weapon of all time. It's very similar to the twin mag assault rifle in the fact that, like, I literally cannot find anything to complain about. Maybe the damage, but that's just because it's been nerfed time and time again, because it was so broken when it launched. You have an incredible fire rate, one of the best fire rates for an assault rifle. You have a great magazine size, a DPS of 200 plus. It's just right, like low recoil. It ticks all the boxes for a good assault rifle. While I do feel like this spot is going to cause some debate in the comment section, and I really want to hear your guys' opinion on the rankings in this list in that comment section down below. Yeah, I do think it is the best red dot sight weapon in Fortnite history. All right, guys, well, I really do hope you enjoyed that video. Let me know again in the comment section what you thought about my rankings. I read literally every single comment, and I love hearing what you guys have to say about my videos. But again, be sure to leave this video a like and subscribe as we are on that push for 100,000 subscribers, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.